Greetings and salutations out there. Dave Duford here to talk to you about my final expense door knocking mastery system. We're going to be doing a deep dive on how to effectively door knock your final expense leads and really give you my entire system that I teach my agents on how to get more appointments in person, door knocking any kind of final expense leads that you are purchasing. So let's go ahead and jump right into what it is that we'll be talking about. So first of all, we're going to be talking about my complete door knocking script to get more final expense appointments. So we're going to start here in just a second, actually going through the script, describing why it works, breaking down the different components of it so you can incorporate it and simply copy and paste it into your own appointment setting, or I should say door knocking strategy. You'll also learn how to deal with those pesky common objections that you hear at the door, like, I'm broke, I've already got it, don't need it. And we'll give you a real foolproof strategy that's very simple and rehearsal and memorization, but highly effective no matter what kind of objection you really hear. We'll also talk about tips and tricks that aren't necessarily related to the performance or the actual script itself that will help amplify your ability to get and book more appointments via door knocking. And we'll talk about what I would call the X factor that really, I think, makes a big difference in your ability to yield the most success out of your door knocking, because it's just, after all, not the script that makes the difference. There's something else, and we're going to kind of try to put our finger on it and kind of give you some guidance on how you can employ it in your own business. And then we'll end this by talking about the top 3 biggest mistakes that new agents make when door knocking. So if you're new, or you're an aspiring agent, or maybe you're a struggling agent or an experienced agent, and you're looking for some fundamental training on how to apply a strategy proven to get results when door knocking in order to get more of your leads into appointments and hopefully more sales, and of course, this is the training for you. So if you're here live, welcome. I see Neil and NG as well as Eric. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate y'all's live support. And those of you watching recording, thanks so much as well. Consider hitting the thumbs up button if you enjoy this content and you feel it's worthy of being shared throughout all of YouTube to those agents out there in desperate need of training. Because as we know, there ain't a lot of it. It's mostly about the Kool-Aid drinking, not the training, unfortunately. So let's first start up talking about the scripting. So what do we do script-wise when we are at the door? Again, we're going to start with the script. We'll move to objection handling. We'll talk about kind of the other aspects to effective door knocking that aren't necessarily related to the script. The X factor, we'll mention it then. And then we'll summarize with some big mistakes to stay away from, okay? By the way, if you have questions about door knocking final expense leads or anything really insurance, leave them in the chat if you're live. I always answer the questions that are in the chat after my training module is complete. So I absolutely welcome you to leave those questions, and I promise I'll get to them. So I see your future. I'll get to yours later. Hey, Doug. Hey, Big Minga. How you doing? Thanks for being here. All right, so let's talk about the script. I'm at Mildred's door. What do I say? I knock on the door. She answers. Here is what I say. Hey, Mildred, my name is David Duford, and I'm here because you had sent back this postcard requesting information on our new state-regulated final expense program. And the reason that I'm here, it's my job to deliver the information you requested. It just takes a few minutes to do so. Would you like to sit out on the porch, or should I come and sit down at the kitchen table to talk about it? That's it. That's the script. But let's take it apart, because it's very simple, right? There's nothing there that was just out of this world. It's no special words. There's a little bit of special words in here. But there's a lot that goes on here, I think, that's worth kind of breaking down so that you understand the psychology at play, because I could just say, do my script, and it does work. But a lot of my training that I do, especially with my agents, is we spend a lot of time explaining why something works so that you can believe in it. And I believe if you believe in it, you're more likely to follow through. So at least that's my working theory. So first of all, make sure that you introduce yourself. Hey, my name is David Duford, all right? I listened to a call earlier from an agent today who did not introduce himself. He still got the appointment, thankfully. But I always take the kind of character of the most cynical person on the face of the planet. If you're dealing with that kind of person and they question everything that you said or didn't say, are you doing everything that you can? Because if you can answer the cynic's concerns, then you can answer everybody's, right? And one thing that you don't want to be you don't want to be worried about or you don't want them to be worried about is what sounds like you concealing information from them. By you not telling and introducing yourself from the beginning, people are going to be skeptical, like, who are you? That sounds like something I did, but who are you? Because if they don't trust you, nothing matters, right? So trust begins by a proper introduction right from the beginning. Now, one step before that, when a lady or a man answers the door, and on my card I see a lady or a man, or even if I don't, I assume that that is a husband, wife, or spouse situation. I'm going to address that person as, hey, you're Mrs. Jones. My name is Dave Duford, and then go right into the rest of the script. So assuming that the person you need to talk to is that person or related to that person, I prefer that jumping right into the door knock script, okay? Now, the follow-up to that is, hey, my name is Dave Duford, and the reason I'm here is because you requested this information that you requested this information about our new state-regulated final expense programs. You sent this card back a couple weeks ago. That whole script here, there's a couple of things going on that you may not be catching that I want to point out. First of all, I'm assuming you're working a direct mail lead card. Even if you're not, and you're working, let's say, a Facebook lead or a digital or telemarketing lead, you don't have the same signature at the bottom to show them. So you want to show them the favorite hobby or the favorite color they gave. Most of our leads that are out there use that out in, the final expense leads world. So you should have something that you want to point to remind them. And also, speaking to the pointing part, notice that in both times I rehearsed the script, I physically turned my eyes, body, and finger to that part of the card that's listed where normally the signature is. If you're new to this, most people use a direct mail card, they send it back to us, and they've signed the bottom or use their handwriting, right? I'm pointing physically to what the handwriting says on the card because I don't want them to read the card. You see, if I start to point to the card and I start having and inviting them to read it, I'm inviting them to start asking me questions, qualifying me, and potentially taking control of the script. And the worst thing you can ever do in presenting and selling is have the client start to wrangle away control from you. When they start asking you questions and you start answering them without getting back on track, you're now at their behest. They have taken the bigger frame, or they're in the alpha position, you're in the beta position, and you're now taking orders from them. They're dictating where we're going to go in the presentation, and even at the door, you never want that. So and the whole purpose of pointing to their handwriting is to what? It's to remind them that they did it. It's not to show everything on the card to them. That's what the presentation's for, to talk about the details of the card. At the door, the purpose is to show them that they actually did this, right? To remind them, because they're older, they tend to forget sometimes. So seeing their handwriting, they're going to be like, yeah, that is me, okay? Again, if you're using a digital lead or something other than direct mail, point to their favorite hobby, roller derby. Point to their favorite color, blue, whatever it is. Show them that you know something about them that they voluntarily gave that they normally wouldn't. And that, I believe, is going to lower their threshold in being skeptical. Again, they may not remember the actual act of filling the lead out, but boy, they recognize their favorite hobby, favorite color, or their handwriting. Does that make sense? So, and I'm physically showing them where to look. I'm not just saying, look at this. I'm telling them where their eyeballs go, because I specifically don't want their eyeballs to go into different directions, like reading about the new state-regulated final expense program or whatever, because that allows the opportunity for them to take control. Also, one mistake I used to make all the time in the field, I would actually hand them physically the card to read. What am I doing there? I'm literally giving up control to the client to read it, qualify me, and decide if it's something that they're interested in. Bad idea. Never, ever do that, okay? So, again, I'll start from the top. Hey, my name's Dave Duford. I'm here because you requested this information about our new state-regulated final expense program through the mail and this postcard. And my job is to deliver this information, to show you how these programs work. Whatever you do with it's up to you. So that whole my job bit is deliberate. What we're trying to tell the client is that we're just doing our job. They, the ubiquitous they, the man, the boss in charge, sent me out here to do this. All of our clients typically are working class. They understand they've got jobs to do that they don't want to, but they do it because that's what it takes to keep their jobs. So kind of talking in that language connects to them. It's my job to deliver the information to you. I'm not going in there to sit down with you for 20 minutes to tell you how this program works. I'm delivering the information. Delivering is a word that sounds less intrusive than selling you a policy or talking about how this program works, right? So talking for 20 minutes, how this program works, right? So we want to lessen the impact on the commitment level of the client at this moment in time at the door. And so we want to say it's my job to show you how the program works or deliver this information to you. I sometimes, depending on the feel of the moment, say, and what you do with this is up to you. That removes that kind of obligatory, oh, this is a sales pitch. I got to sit here and listen to this, and they might harass me to buy. What you do with it's up to you is a good phrase just to lower their threshold, to get them relaxed with you. And then, of course, the most important part here is the close. So do you want to sit out in the porch or can I come in? So likewise, there's a couple of ways you can close, but notice I don't ask them permission. I didn't say, does that sound good to you? Can I come in? Why is that bad? Now think about that. Why is that bad to ask? Now it's better to ask than not to ask, but there's a better way to get the answer you want. But every time that you ask a question where there is a no, you're giving an option to the client to say no. And at a position of time when they're in front of a stranger, wondering if this is something they should do or not, should we ever give them an out? No, because sometimes people are looking for outs, if only to just remove a sense of responsibility and obligation to go through a sales presentation. So the simple solution is to not ask a yes-no question. It's to ask a question of where they want to do the appointment. Do you want to do it out on the porch, or should I come in and sit at the table with you? Can I take my shoes off? Should I take my shoes off before I come in? Okay? They can now answer a question based off of the assumption I'm coming in. Does that make sense? So it's not a question of if, it's a question of where am I coming in, right? This powerful little subtle difference is, and this is absolutely applicable over the phone too for those of you who set appointments. Making this change verbally will up your game in getting into more doors because you are, as the sales person, controlling the frame. Okay, you're setting the frame of how the client interacts with you. And if you set the frame to be based off of I'm coming in, but I'm giving you the common courtesy of where we're doing it, or if my shoes are on or off, they will only most people will just answer the question they're given, right? But there's that subtle I'm coming in, where you want to do this, right? Very, very powerful. Absolutely the only way to get into appointments at the door, okay? Another thing I want you to know is you can also physically communicate this as well. This is like what I was saying with pointing to the signature. You're kind of guiding them physically what to do. You can do the same thing at the door. Should I take my shoes off before I come in? And you could be looking down, wiping your feet. And that demonstrates that you're doing the kind of motions that would show that you're getting prepared to come in the door. And all that, the idea behind it is, and some people think it's corny and silly, but the idea behind it is you're building momentum to getting closer to the point where the client feels more obligated to say yes, okay, or agree to the appointment, all right? And you can do the same thing. Do you want to sit out here in the porch or can I come in? And you can shake your head no and kind of point what you want to do, or shake your head yes, come in, and show them kind of where it is that you want to guide them. Does that make sense? So this whole script is extremely powerful with the assumptive nature of it if you want to get in the door more often and more frequently, okay? Pro tips here. I review a lot of my agents' calls. I'm intimately involved with my people to help them improve and get better at the Ford Insurance Group. When it comes to door knocking, probably the biggest mistake that's made is closing appropriately. Yet, it's the most powerful way to up your ability to get into more homes. So lose and ditch this whole yes-no type of closing language. It's not something in the context of sales that is appropriate. It will work. It just doesn't work as good. And we're all kind of programmed anyway to ask for permission, right? That's what my mom told me to do as I grew up, and I kind of retained that. But we want to kind of ditch that when we are doing something like life insurance or final expense that commonly people run from. They don't want anything to do with. They'd rather avoid it. And the truth is, our clients are all what? World-class procrastinators, right? So they're kind of putting off this decision anyway. That's their typical behavior pattern. So do not allow them to have the out, okay? Give them a choice of where you're going to sell them, at this door, at the porch, or inside of the kitchen, okay? So this is why it works. That's the breakdown. This is the only thing I teach at the door for my people in my agency. And it is profoundly impactful on getting and helping more people get final expense coverage in place. Now, of course, we all know that not everybody's going to say yes, More people will say yes with this, but you're going to get objections. So we're going to talk about how to handle those objections that you're going to get. So I'll ask you guys in the audience, throw into the chat what kind of objections that you hear. I'm just curious of the most common ones, the ones you've run across. For me, the ones that I would hear commonly every day is I'm busy, I'm not interested, I've already got it, I'm broke, mail me something, right? Some of the more sophisticated prospects are saying, I've got COVID, right? Or whatever, right? I've already had it, no problem. Now, and actually you can turn that into a rebuttal, as you'll see in a minute. But the point is, these are probably the most 5 common ways and things you're going to hear. And in any time we're doing a performance-based activity, the simpler the strategy to handle all of the problems that we run into, the more effective and the more profound it's going to be on getting results. I take jiu-jitsu, as some of you guys know, and one of the principles that Mickey teaches, my instructor, is the fundamentals are incredibly important. You can learn all these different moves, right? You can worry about all the different variants of objections you're going to get. But the truth is, most of the fights end up on the ground. There's a few main moves that if you spend your entire life practicing and rehearsing, drilling, I should say, on the mat, like chokes, rear naked, arm bars, triangles, Kimuras, right? Like that's the fundamental type of submissions you should know. And if you rehearse that or practice or drill it your whole life, that's all you really need to know. You don't need to know all the weird ones that don't ever actually apply in the real world. Likewise, the point being is that the same concept applies here. Floyd Mayweather, by the way, if you guys are into boxing, like he's really boring as a boxer, but he does the fundamentals over and over and over again, and he's extremely good, right? So likewise, very similar, we're in a performance-based activity. It's just based off of salesmanship and persuasion. We need to have and adapt strategies that are simplified in nature, but handle pretty much all of the most major problems that we run into, right? So otherwise, now that I've kind of explained the psychology behind it, let's talk about what the rebuttal script actually sounds like. We call this the ASK methodology, okay? So the ASK methodology is A, answer the objection, S, sell the appointment, C, close the appointment, okay? And no matter what people say, I'll look at the chat here and see what people say. The answer is almost always like this. No problem. All I need is 5 minutes for me to show you how this works, and what you do with it's up to you. Would you like to sit out here on the porch with me, or should I come in? That's it. So if you think about these objections that I mentioned and think about how it's applying, and I'm going to explain to you the psychology of why it works too, because it's not exactly clear when you hear it in action. But once you understand the mentality of what the client's going through, most likely, it makes a lot more sense. So if we talk about I'm busy, hey, that's okay. All I need is 5 minutes for me to show you how this works, and whatever you do with it's up to you. Do I need to take my shoes off before I come in? You want to sit out on the porch, right? I'm not interested. Hey, that's fine. It's my job to deliver this information, and whatever you do with this, it's up to you. Should I take my shoes off before I come in? I already got life insurance. Hey, that's fine. All I need is 5 minutes to show you how these new programs work, and what you do with this is entirely up to you. Do you want to sit out here on the porch with me, or should I come in? Can you just mail me something in the mail? Hey, that's a great question. All I need is 5 minutes for me to show you how this works, and whatever you do with this is entirely up to you. Why don't we go ahead and sit at the table, and I'll explain to you how it works. Do you want to sit out here on the porch? I'm broke. Hey, that's fine. All I need is 5 minutes for me to show you how this works, and what you do with it's up to you. Why don't we sit out here on the porch, or can I come in? And then the last one's sick. That's okay. I've already had COVID. I already got the immunity. All I need is 5 minutes for me to show you how it works, and what you do with it's up to you. You want to sit out here on the porch with me, or should I come in? So what have I done here? I've said the same thing like every single time, right? I answered the objection, and everything that came after it's exactly identical. You may be wondering, listening to this, like, why does Dave say this works? Like, the person said they were busy. Doesn't that mean that they can't do it now? They said they already got life insurance. Doesn't that mean they don't need any life insurance or burial insurance? Or they said they got COVID. They really got COVID, right? So here's the issue here. The thing that took me forever to understand in this business is that you can't believe everything that you're told, okay? I'm not saying my clients at the door right now are lying to me. I don't know if they are, but many times, more often than not, they're not telling me the entire truth. in that instant of time when I've approached them, I've caught them off guard. They're not necessarily ready. They might be interested, but they're concerned, obviously, right? They don't want some stranger in their house. They got all these like head trash stuff. What comes out isn't all of this like well thought out explanation why they're worried or concerned that you're a salesperson and it may not be the right time and there's questions I have. It comes out like I'm busy or I've already got it. It comes out in this like tip of the iceberg type of answer that doesn't give you the full perspective of what's going on underneath the surface. And the client may not even be aware of this. It's very much like a lizard brain guttural reaction to what it is that you're saying. It's a defensive mechanism to prevent a potential threat, okay? So the point is that you cannot trust what they're saying. I'm not calling our prospects liars. I'm just saying that they're saying something that they may not realize in the full propensity is an incomplete answer. So I assume that what I'm really responding to when I hear that objection is that underlying fear, that underlying concern of commitment, not sure if it's right for me, kind of that whole kind of resistance issue. I'm not even really addressing what they're saying. I'm addressing the underlying feeling and emotion of, a salesperson coming to sell them. So that's why when somebody says, I already got life insurance, I say, that's fine. I need 5 minutes to do my job, to deliver the information you requested, and what you do with it's up to you. So I tell them it's quick, it's 5 minutes. I need to do my job. They understand that. What they do with it's up to them. I'm selling that it's no big deal. I'm lowering the risk feeling. And then I close. You want to sit out on the porch or should I come in to talk? And all the while I'm saying this in a relaxed type of state. I'm not pushy at all. I'm persistent, but I'm not aggressive. I'm not showing some kind of aggression, but I'm showing them that I mean business. That I'm here because of something they did that's important. And I'm wanting to be persistent that whole time to show that I really mean what I'm saying. I'm not just saying the script, I'm performing the script. And what you'll find is that frame of mind their ends will just basically collide with yours and you'll eat them up and then they'll do what they say if you have a strong enough frame of reference as you deliver that script. More on that in a little bit. So you guys understand that's kind of the psychology at play here. And again, this is the universal way to handle it. I don't care what you hear. It doesn't matter. You don't want to go into a long, drawn-out explanation of why your new plan's better than the others. It's got some new funeral advantage thing, and they're cheap plans, and you don't want to start fact-finding at the door to discover what it is they have. It doesn't matter. You have to sell you to sell insurance. Guys, if the companies could sell insurance without us, they'd fire all of us in an instant. They need us because it's people that sell insurance. It's not products. It's not the product itself. It's not the carrier. It's people who care about other people, which means you got to get in the door, do a presentation, show them you care, lower their threat issues, and then pre-qualify, fact find, build value, and close. But none of that stuff about selling the product makes any sense until you've gotten in the door and began to develop a relationship, which is why we sell the appointment. Critical, important point. We sell the appointment. We do not sell the product at the phone when we're selling over the phone or selling in person, right? Selling over the phone, selling at the door. We don't sell at the door. We sell the appointment at the door. Make sense? Okay. So that's how we handle objections. Any questions, throw them in the chat. I'll get to them. A couple other things here. Tips, tricks, and the X factor to making your door knock attempts that much better. Number one, it's the mindset. Okay, I'm not a mindset guy because I find that a lot of the mindset issues kind of collude with the MLM Kool-Aid drinking crowd, that wants you to do the rah-rah and all that stuff. But I'm finding as I go through my career that speaking on mindset and developing that is extremely important, and that maybe I've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. So what I'm going to attempt to do here is provide you some perspective and some mindset training so that you have the proper approach when working your door knocking leads. So the first thing that a lot of agents tell me is, and some people have the guts to tell me, some don't, is they just don't believe in door knocking because they look at what they do when a door knock person comes to the door. They yell at them, they talk to them through the ring, they chase them off their porch, and they generally don't have a sense of respect for people that show up unannounced to try to sell them something. Well, that's a shitty mindset. Excuse me, it is. because you're damaging your own capability to go out there and help people in the same way, because what you are incorrectly thinking is that your mindset is equivalent. It's equivalent to everybody else's. And here's a bigger, broader perspective. You are not your prospect. Just because you have a problem with some person who's trying to make a living and has the guts to come up to your door to try to help you does not mean that every other person on the planet does. This is a humbling reality that the sooner you embrace, the better. You are not your prospect. There's a particular agent, John Duggar. Be cool if he was here live. I've done a couple interviews with him. Goat of the business, a very successful agent. I remember reading a forum post where he's like, he essentially throws people off their porches, essentially. But he door knocks if he needs to, and he doesn't have a problem with it because he understands there's a delineation between those that door knock. He doesn't like it, but that doesn't cause him from not doing it because he understands why he's doing it and can still get it done and feel confident doing it. Most people can't do that. Okay, so my kind of first cause and request for you is to change the mindset of how you look at door knocking. It's not begging, it's not peddling, it's actually going out there and having guts to make things happen. Okay, you are not a lesser person because you're knocking on a door. You're also not cold calling. It's helpful to think that you are replying to information they requested. They solicited you, not the other way around. You wouldn't be at the door if they didn't send the card in or requested the information online. You're just doing your job. You really are. And you need to have that kind of attitude here. You're not there to push yourself in the door, disrespect, or pressure anybody. But they solicited you. They requested information about burial insurance, and you know how important it is, so that's why you take the chance to go out and see these people, right? So again, fix that kind of mindset. Look at what you're doing at the door as a value add, because it absolutely is. Probably even more so now because people don't like to answer the phone. But they'll still answer the door because, frankly, a lot of people just don't have the cojones to go out and knock on a door. They just feel like, oh, there's all this and that and the other thing. Nah. If you just get over that and go see people and help them, the surprising thing is the vast amount of final expense prospects enjoy seeing company. Okay, if you can present yourself in a favorable light, and we'll kind of talk about that more in a second. A lot of seniors would love to talk to you. A lot of them don't even talk to anybody for days on end, even weeks on end. So the fact that you show up is a blessing sometimes, okay? And remember, you're doing good work here, okay? Just because you're knocking on somebody's door doesn't make you like evil or a bad person. You're helping people. You're taking care of people in ways that other people can't. You're protecting families in a very important and profound way. And because you're not there to do anything bad, you shouldn't be thinking negatively as you approach the door or thinking that it's beneath you to do that. Please get over that. You have an important obligation as an agent to help people. And if that means you got to show up at their house and do it, so be it. Again, all of this is helpful after you've spent some time taking this leap of faith on everything I'm saying, putting it into action, and then over the course of a year or two, seeing it actually is all true. Harder to accept in the beginning. I get it. I struggled with the same thing continually through my career with various mindset stuff. We all do. But the more that you do this, the more that you see what I'm saying is absolutely the truth. So get your mind right. Number two, let's talk about the approach. So we talked about the script. We talked about the objection handling mindset. Let's talk about the approach. So first of all, when I get out of the car, if I'm at a house, I leave my car on with my door open. If you're in an area where you don't feel comfortable doing that, just shut your door, turn your car off. It's fine. I do that because if they're looking out the window and seeing who it is that just rolled up, if my door is open and my car is on, it looks like I'm not staying. I feel more confident in going up at the door because I project an image of being temporary, not permanently there. Also, when I get out of the car, I wave at the window, even if there's nobody there, because there might actually be somebody, peeking through. And if they see me waving at them, they may think he saw me and feel a little bit more obligated to answer the door. Okay? Is it somebody I know? They saw me? This is all kind of that momentum buildup that we're doing. Okay? When I walk up to the door, my kind of way that I would get into character here is I would, first of all, listen to funny stuff in the car. I used to listen to George Carlin and a lot of comedy. That would put me in a good mood and stop all this mindset trash. But as I'm walking up to the door, the switch flips on. I get into door knock mode. I remember singing a lot like silly little kid songs like the wheels on the bus go round and round, whistling it out loud. But that kind of stuff kind of got me into this kind of mood to knock on a stranger's door, right? So I'm doing that stuff, walking up to the door. And then as I approach it, the first thing you want to do is knock on the door. Even if there's a doorbell, don't hit the doorbell. Half of them are broke, okay? And they may not hear it, but they'll absolutely hear your knock. Now, there is actually a sequence, or I should say a technique to door knocking, okay? We were talking about this earlier on my training. I really feel like a door knock sound and intensity and pace kind of transmutes or transfers kind of a character of the person knocking. Are they weak? Are they strong? And we want to come off being noticed. We want somebody to be, we want us to be heard, and that would draw people to the door to come talk to us. So the knock technique that I like to do, first of all, I ball up my fist, the pointer and the middle finger. I use the second knuckles, and I usually knock hard 7 to 11 times like this. And I do it in a deliberately strong way because I want to stop my prospects in the house in their tracks and immediately think, who is at the door? And now it's almost like a triple dial when we call and set appointments. I've gotten their appointment. I've broken the conditioning of what they would expect, and they're going to be that much more drawn to go to the door to see who it is. Okay. So I found a strong, confident door knock like that makes a big difference versus just kind of the limp-wristed. Half your seniors can't hear very well, and they may be like, is that the squirrels running around on the roof again? So you got to be strong and pronounced at the knuckles, not the meaty part of the hand, and knock 7 times to 11 times, okay, to be heard. All right? Now, as you're at the door, if you're at the door with an eye hole, you should notice it's light inside. You should see some light coming through it. I want you to eyeball the eye hole. When it goes dark, that means their eye is up against it looking in, right? And when it goes dark, you go like this, hey, and you say, hey, because that acknowledges to them that you know they're there. Again, just like waving at the window, it gets them more obligated to answer the door. Another side note here, when we're door knocking and you're at a house, don't go to the front door, go to the side door. Nobody uses the front door. Everybody uses their side door. Usually it's at the carport door or something similar like that. Knock on that door, okay? And then if nobody answers, then go to the front door. And then go to the back door, assuming there's not a dog back there that's going to eat you, right? Try every avenue that you can to demand somebody's attention. Because you'll have some people who they can't hear the front door because they're in the back of the house, but they'll hear the side door. It's weird like that. So I want to make sure I mention that. And the X factor here really is the performance of the script, okay? So I mentioned the biggest component that I think, beyond the scripting, the correct scripting, is the performance of the script, okay? Now there's a technique, it's hard for me to train this because it's not something that is predictable. You have to be good and think on your feet. And this is something that's developed over time. Some people have a better handle on it from the beginning than others. But what you want to be able to do is almost like build rapport, like pre-script rapport, before you get into the actual scripting. So the perfect example is if I'm knocking on a door and I hear the Chihuahua go crazy, right? If you've ever knocked on a door with the Chihuahua, they just go crazy, right? When the lady or the male answers the door, usually it's a lady in my experience, I immediately say, hey, Miss Jones, is that your attack dog? Don't let him eat my ankles. Or I say something a little more funny in the moment before I even start to say the script. Or if Mrs. Jones answers, I might turn around if she's got a nice garden and say, hey, man, you got a nice garden. What kind of flowers are those? Those are beautiful. And I'll immediately start to compliment her and her work she's done because, you know, it's like the stuff that people hang up in their office or their house. It's up there for a reason. They like to show it off. If they've got nice stuff in their garden, it's intentional. And if you pay attention to that, they'll notice that and they'll like that, right? It builds a little rapport. And it starts a conversation off in kind of a less deliberate salesmanship way, okay? So I can't, again, everybody's different. Every circumstance is different. I know if you're an agent of mine, you start listening to my door knocks, you'll hear this stuff from time to time. And I find that it greatly lowers the resistance and concern people have because nobody's expecting that. The moment you come in and you crack a funny joke about their dog, or you talk about their nice garden or whatever it is, everything that comes after that script-wise is extremely more effective. So you want to pay attention to how to get that pre-script rapport in there somewhere, okay? The other part of this is the actual performance of the script. Please don't go to the door being boring. Boring is the worst sin in salesmanship. Be interesting. Be upbeat. I think people are more likely to let you in if you sound enthusiastic. Not over the top, but, sound like you're happy to be there and you're an interesting person, right? Work on your tonality and your inflection. Best thing you guys could do is record yourself. See how you actually sound versus how you think you sound. Do you sound boring? Do you sound intriguing? If you're boring, nobody's going to let you in. If you're intriguing, a lot more people will, okay? So practice your communication of the script, the performance of it. And some other stuff, of course. Don't go to the house like a bum, right? Dress business casual, ladies, whatever business casual is for ladies, dress like that, and smile. Stuff that, I feel like you guys already know, but we want to make sure that it's done. I've seen agents I've done ride-alongs with that look like they just rolled out of bed, haven't changed their clothes in a couple of days. And this is all stuff that people will judge you on, whether you like it or not. Sorry. So you might as well account for that ahead of time and overcome it, all right? So, but the big thing here with the X factor is, man, perform the script. Be somebody who's excited, happy to be there. Show some enthusiasm. People reciprocate the feelings and emotions they get from somebody else. If you come off as boring and uninterested, they're bored and uninterested in you, right? Okay, last three things here before I take some questions in the chat. Hope you guys are enjoying this training. Biggest 3 door knock mistakes. Again, hopefully you guys know it. I train agents. I recruit agents nationally to sell final expense, face-to-face, over the phone, Medicare, right? So I do this a lot for a living. I'm always looking for new agents, right? So I review a lot of door knocks, okay? Getting in the door is half the battle, like my dad said. He had a chemical company, did very well, retired, very wealthy by 47 years old, right? And he told me in sales, it's all about getting in the door. If you can get in the door, half the battle's won. So likewise, getting good at the door knocking, or setting appointments, if you can get really rock solid in that stuff, the rest follows pretty easily. Now, there's some mistakes new agents make, and some of this will make sense now. We've kind of preempted it with some psychology, but I want to hit these big mistakes because I hear it repetitively in the recordings I listen to. So I feel like, okay, if I hear it all the time, probably others do it too as new agents. So let's go over what these mistakes are and how to overcome them. The first one is saying the I word. Anybody know what the I word is? It's the word you never say in selling final expense, at least at the door. Insurance. Why is the I word bad? Why is saying insurance, or life insurance in this case, bad? Well, it's interesting. Language is an attempt to define our way of thinking, right? But it's unique in the sense that it's inherently subjective, right? People have, if we were to go through a list of words here, your kind of reference and where your life story is from is going to reflect a different thinking about those words, right? So there's always a level of subjectivity in every word, not to mention how you say the word makes a big difference too. So I find this stuff fascinating. So when we say insurance, immediately what the term insurance does is it renders the critical thinking capability of our prospects' minds obsolete and defeated. They immediately go into defensive mode because when you say insurance, you're there to sell them something. You're an agent. You're a salesperson. Brain shuts down. Woo, woo, woo. I've got insurance, right? You start to hear objections a lot more often when you use the I word, the insurance or life insurance, okay? Again, I had a hard time understanding this as an agent. Why wouldn't I want to be straightforward? Why would I want to tell them it's about insurance? Because their their understanding of insurance is subjective. And what you know about how your plans work differs dramatically than what their understanding of it is. And so what you have to do is communicate why you're there in a way that's not exactly direct, but still kind of more or less hits on the high points. Because by not being direct, you give yourself the better chance of getting in the more doors. Whereas if you're direct, you're basically risking that opportunity for an appointment to being subject to the client's understanding, their limited understanding, because what they think they have as far as life insurance goes, boy, how many of y'all out there who've been doing this forever know it's usually way off. They thought they had more coverage, they have a lot less. They thought they had a lot of whole life insurance, but it's actually term. The agent said that my plan's great because it's got $20,000 coverage, but you find out it's only $10,000 natural and double indemnity, double accidental death, right? There's all these things that our clients aren't aware of that we as experienced agents know. And I want to avoid getting into a protracted conversation at the door about the validity or veracity of me talking about insurance. I want to wait till I'm in the house to do it, when I've developed a rapport and a connection with them. So what do you do if you're not going to say life insurance or insurance? What you say is state-regulated final expense program to pay for final expenses. That essentially is the same thing as life insurance, okay? It's a state-regulated program. It's regulated by the states. It is a program to pay for final expenses. That's what burial insurance does. That's what life insurance does. So I say the same thing in a admittedly vanilla, wordy way in order to avoid the consequences of being specific, okay? And again, it's not that we're trying to withhold or lie to our clients. Not at all. It's that we know the psychology of our prospects and that they have a belief of what this insurance thing is. And based off of a lifetime of history. So they're not going to change their mind on the spot. So instead of challenging that perception by mentioning it, we just avoid it and describe it a different way. And that allows us to get into more doors. It allows us to progress the conversation more and more and more, okay? Again, hard thing for me to accept. I did it throughout my entire career. I still did okay at the door. But I know I would have been better if I understood the psychology of why saying insurance just cuts your legs off before you even get to go. Same thing, we see that with annuities. If you guys listen to annuity radio shows, we've got a couple in our market, they don't say annuities. They spend more time talking about the benefits of the program and what it does for them and how the clients are happy, but they stay away from talking about annuities because people have a preconceived notion of what an annuity is and how bad it is, right? More often than it's good. So people stay away in the annuity market of the annuity word. Number two, probably another big thing here, is agents don't close on the rebuttals, okay? Not necessarily on the close of the opening statement, but on the rebuttals, okay? So we were listening to a call the other day from an agent, I think it was Bill, and he delivered a very good opening. But what happened on the rebuttal is he said, hey, that's fine. All I need is a few minutes for me to go over this with you, and what you do with it's up to you. And there was this awkward pause, and then the client said, no, I think I'm all set. No problem. Thanks, bye. What was missing there? Well, what was missing is the conclusive next step that you're directing your client to. Remember earlier on we were talking about how important it is to control or retain control in the door knock, the presentation, really everything with what we're doing, right? Well, when you don't tell the client what to do, then they get confused. And they lose faith in making a decision on what to do because you haven't directed them what their decisions are. It's either sit out on the porch or can I come in, right? That's the close. And if we don't close, we're not completing our obligation as the person in control. So they're waiting on you to tell them what they do even if they don't realize it. Otherwise, they're left to deciding for themselves and allow doubt to seep in to say no or change their mind. So again, what I find is, as we get to the objections, especially on objection 1 and objection 2, this is where the pressure intensifies. Agents stop closing because they start to lose conviction because they're now under stress. But this is where you have to double and triple down on your conviction. You have to close. You have to have the conviction of your belief that all you need is a few minutes to show them what it is, and what they do with it's up to you. So you want to sit out on the porch or can I come in? You have to go all the way if you're going to go at all. Right? So make sure you're closing. Again, this is probably on par, if not even more important than saying insurance. You have to close. If you don't tell your people what to do and what you want to happen, then you lose control and they'll select a no. They'll say no. They'll think about it. They won't commit to an appointment. And last but not least, please make sure you really emphasize once you understand the script, you're good at executing it from a script standpoint, perform it, okay? Have fun with the script. Have fun with people, okay? I loved being at the door way more than being on the phone because I got to connect with people. I got to read them better than I felt like I did over the phone. I had fun with it. It was a great time. Door knocking is a powerful methodology, probably even better today than it was when I was full-time in the field, 4 or 5 years ago, because so many people hate to talk on the phone because of the constant barrage of junk calls and telemarketer calls. But there just isn't as many people knocking on the doors as much as there are calls these days. So showing up, if you have some vitality and conviction, enthusiasm, and you can go through this script and perform it with that, man, the odds are on your side that you're going to convert a lot of those people into appointments, okay? And that's door knocking. It's that simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. It's a simple script, simple rebuttal strategy, and just make sure that you amp up the final little bits there with the performance, with the performance, and avoid those major mistakes we talked about in order to give you the best results. Okay, let's take a look at some questions from the chat here. Thanks again so much for being here. And again, if you guys got questions, you've jumped into this, please put your questions down there. I'll answer them. I'm going to go from top to bottom. And please consider hitting the thumbs up button, if only to help share this video with agents out there who desperately need to hear this training. That's the only reason I ask you, because YouTube will help me expand my audience based off of the engagement and the likability of the video. So thank you very much. All right, future, excellent question here. How would you work aged Facebook leads at the door? Let me tell you, I'd work them exactly the same as you work fresh leads, okay? So I am not going to work an aged anything any different. I treat them as they're fresh, because guess what? They've probably requested information time and time again for life insurance, and they can't keep it all straight, okay? So act as if it's new. When they say, I don't remember that, say, no problem, I need 5 minutes to do my job, and what you do with it's up to you. So you just do everything exactly the same. And yeah, there's a little bit more resistance, a little bit less of a conversion on it, but you'll be surprised. A lot of people let you in because nobody ever showed up. That's kind of what you find out with a lot of these age leads. Hey, Bryony, how you doing? Thanks for being here. Thank you for the training and insights. Thanks, Angela. Appreciate you being here. It's always Mildred. Yeah, I know, right? That's like my go-to description. Miss Jones, Mildred. Hey, Kevin, thanks for being here. How many leads to purchase one day of running business? Really, Bryony, it depends on the kind of lead that you purchase. Assuming you're full-time in the field, a good place to start with is 20 direct mail leads a week. Again, direct mail is the primary strategy marketing-wise to use if you're face-to-face selling final expense. Scaled-up agents will use 30 plus. I've had agents do 80 to 100 a week, right? So it just depends on what type of leads you're working. With Facebook leads, you're probably going to need like double to triple depending on the vendor that you're using. Probably a good place to start with Facebook lead is 40 a week. That's equivalent to about 20 is what I would say. Hey, Gina, thanks for being here. NG, is showing them the card on your phone or tablet good enough? Should you print out a copy of the card? That's all I have right now. Yeah, you know what? I know a lot of people, they just pull out their iPad and they show them the image of the card. That's 100% fine. I don't think you're going to find any issues with that. Actually, I think that would probably be that much more helpful because, it's one thing to hand them a copy of something they did that's a paper versus your entire iPad, so it's like you feel a little less obligated to hand your whole iPad over to look at it, right? So just show it to them and then just take it away. That's what I would do. Hey, Kevin, is door knocking more effective than calling or setting appointments? I believe so. The average agent, I think, will perform and convert more of their leads if they door knock them than set appointments. There's a particular agency or company named after an American president that's been around for a long time, that's trained tons and tons of final expense agents. And I don't know if it's still the case now, but their primary strategy to teach agents to prospect their leads is to simply just show up at the door. Based on what I remember and was shown, they really don't recommend that their agents get on the phone at all. And I think the main reason of that is just a different skill set to use the phone. It's not too different from the script that we use, but the phone's just different. You're not reading them. It's awkward for some people just naturally. I would recommend just showing up at the door. That's if you were to choose one or the other. Door knocking your leads usually leads to more conversion, more sales. Gina, would this training be on YouTube? Yeah, so it'll be recorded, and then you can go look in the past live streams or just the content section of my YouTube channel, and you can always watch us. It's all going to be recorded. Hey, Guitar, how you doing? Assumed consent. I need to go back to top door knocking agent and get a $15,000 check. Yeah, assumed consent. Yes, essentially that's what we would describe our close, where we're not asking permission to do the appointment. We're asking permission where to do the appointment. The underlying assumption is there's no decision about me doing the appointment. It's just where, right? Not at this time. No problem, Mr. Prospect. All I need is 5 minutes to show you how this works. Whatever you do with it's up to you. You want to sit on the porch or can I come in? Come another day. Hey, that's fine. I just need 5 quick minutes for me to do my job and I'll be out of your hair. What you do with this is up to you. Why don't we go inside and talk about this? You want to sit out on the porch? Again, don't believe, like Gina gave these. Thank you very much, by the way. Not at this time or come another day, or these are the objections. Don't believe that actually is true. I'm not saying that they are a lie. They might be true. And you'll find after a couple attempts to rebuttal it if it's true or not. And then if that case, then do it at another time later in the day, or come another day, set it for tomorrow, right? But always try to just disregard those in the sense of saying, no problem, go into setting your appointment right then on the spot and closing to be inside or outside or shoes on or shoes off, right? Hey, Jackson, Dave, can you go over examples of how to isolate, agree, and overcome trial closing and box closing? I don't look at it. I probably do something like that, but I'm not familiar with those terminologies. I mean, so like isolate and agree, that probably is what we're doing right now. No problem. All I need is 5 minutes. We're kind of just sidestepping it. We're not engaging in like an argument, right? So we're kind of isolating and agreeing it, I guess. There is a close at the end of the presentation where we figure out what the smoke screen is, we isolate the objection, and then we get them to agree that if we can solve their concerns with that objection, assuming there's no others, then they'll move forward. And then at that point, I call it the proposition, where we show them why they should buy despite their hang-up, and then overcome it, and then assume the sale, right? So that's probably what you're talking about there. And then trial closing. We do a couple of trial closes throughout the presentation in our scripting. So one of the first ones we do is after we pre-qualified need and want, we summarize and say, okay, just to make sure I'm hearing here, you want a life insurance, you want a final expense plan to take care of your funeral so your kids don't have to carry the burden, because you don't want them to end up in the position like your mom left you. Is that correct? Yes. So that's kind of a conceptual close. They conceptually have shared with us they need and want it. So that's kind of a trial close. We do another one at the end of the explanation of term, guaranteed issue, and whole life. And we ask the client, which one do you think is best for them? So we're kind of, I don't know if it's a trial close per se, but we're closing them on different elements of believing they need and desire it, of the kind of plan that works best for them until we get to the ultimate close, right? So it's probably similar, but not exactly the same. Not sure what the box close is. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. Stacy, if I could pass a damn test. Yeah, I hear you. Just keep doing it and practicing it, and you'll eventually pass it. Are you planning to do an in-home training? I actually have a mock presentation recorded. It's about an hour and a half. About half of it is presentation, and the other half is explanation. At some point, I'll be publishing that on my channel. I don't know when. But yeah, if you go look into YouTube and put in DeFord mock presentation, you'll see a mock presentation in-home training. But you'll see a big one updated here very soon. Hey Logan, do you carry a jetpack around for data on iPad? I don't. I'm a technological Luddite, Logan. I'm sorry, I don't know what a jetpack is. Is that like what you put on your back to fly around in the air? I mean, yeah, I'm 37. Basically a boomer. I don't know. I don't know what that is. So you had to tell me. I can tell you this. No matter what kind of wireless device that you use, or like Notepad or whatever, you want to make sure that you are spam risks. There you go. You want to make sure that you have data that you can access the internet from your mobile hotspot. Essentially, is what we use. So if that's what you're talking about, that's what I'd recommend. Almost, Jess. Came in right at the tail end. You were my upline was Standard Life and Casualty. How do I take advantage of your direct mail lead program? Shoot me an email. I'll give you some rundowns. We probably won't just do it with Slack alone. You're going to have to do more business with us than Slack as a niche carrier. You're going to have to do really all your business with us to do direct mail this time of day, or this time of age. It's very hard to find fixed price leads. So if you want to talk about that, shoot me a message. We can talk about it privately. Jackson, how do you reset in your script just after rebutting it? Reset? I mean, I just go back to repeating the same thing. I'm all set, man. I already got life insurance. Hey, that's fine. All I need is 5 minutes for me to do my job and show you how this works, and what you do with it's up to you. You want to sit in the porch, or can I come in? You know what? I'm kind of busy right now. I'm in the middle of watching Jerry Springer. Hey, that's fine. All I need is 5 minutes to do my job, and look, I'll be right out of your way right after we get this done. What you do with it's up to you. You want to sit out here in the porch, or should I come in and watch Jerry with you? So you just kind of do the same thing. Obviously, I'm modifying a little bit to custom tailor what you hear. So there's going to be a little bit of that going on, but it's structurally the same. We're just kind of in this endless loop pattern. And sometimes agents will ask, well, how many times did you rebut? Till they just say no and get frustrated and close the door. If you're on the phone, until they just hang up. Okay? You're in an endless loop where you insist that all you need is 5 minutes to show you what it is that you do, and what they do with it's up to them. Porch or inside, shoes on or off, right? For internet, yes. So Brian, yes. Hey, Brian. Yeah, mobile hotspot, I guess the equivalent of that. You absolutely want to carry that. You need an internet connection. You're welcome, Gina. Okay? Like a mobile router. Yeah. So yeah, carry that with you for sure. You're welcome, Jess. Kevin, you're welcome. All right. Well, hey, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this training. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to do a deep dive on all the different major and most popular insurance products out there, and what my thoughts are on what the best products are to sell, what the pros and the cons are. So if you're a newer agent kind of feeling their way through the business, trying to find your place, this is going to be a very good business, a very good video to watch. I'm going to kind of give you my, as much as possible, unbiased opinions on the pros and the cons of a variety of products, and should be good. So ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you all around. Take care. Bye. Normal, Jess. Come on over. Work with us.